This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling podcasting network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
It's the same thing you've been hearing for a year now. But, hello wrestling fans. Welcome to episode number 51 of Off the Top Rope Pro Wrestling Podcast. This is, as mentioned, our 1 year anniversary special. I mean, theoretically it'd be episode 53, but we took Christmas off and then we took one other day off, one other week off whenever you got sick. So there's 51 episodes over the course of the year. We slipped. We let everybody down, Rex.
Oh, man. Sorry, folks.
But how are you tonight?
I'm doing quite well. How about yourself?
I'm doing all right. For anybody who has not listened before, I am Mike, and with me, as always, is Rex. Tonight, we've got a lot of stuff going on. I had a very busy weekend of wrestling nerdery that just passed, and something launched this week that we should probably talk about too. What was it? It was it's like a fax service for wrestling, right?
Oh, I thought it was an app vote for which Total Diva we wanted to win the title.
I vote for Eva.
Actually, I now have an answer for that I do. Summer.
I said Eva, damn it.
Yeah. Actually, I gotta admit, I kind of would thoroughly enjoy that because I think the shitstorm it would cause would be so good. It would be entertaining at the least.
But, and then in addition to all this other shit that we got to talk about, we're not slacking off. We've got our event review coming up too.
Yeah.
Beach Blast 92.
Yeah.
And so, normally we kick our post pay-per-view things off with talking about the pay-per-view, and we'll get there. But before we do that, first of all, I kind of want to do a personal thing. I went to the Mick Foley show Saturday night, and if he comes through your town, you're on the fence of going. It's a lot of fun. He made sure to kind of include everybody. He kind of describes it himself. He's not so much a stand-up comedian. It's just a storyteller, and most of the stories are humorous in nature. And, if you're thinking about taking a non-wrestling fan, they'll probably enjoy it too. He made a lot of effort on this show to kind of include non-wrestling fans, explain what was going on. And, just lots of really good stories, really funny overall. And so, yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it, thumbs up. And that was Saturday night, which led us into Sunday's Elimination Chamber. And goddamn, Wyatt's and Shield.
Oh, yeah. God, I hate you.
It is now, that now firmly supplants Brett and Jean-Pierre Lafitte at In Your House 3 is the best match I've ever seen live, so.
Yeah. God, I find it tough to argue against people proclaiming it to be the greatest tag match in WWE, just a WWE, WWF history.
Huh.
I'm inclined to agree with that argument. I'd have to go. It's been a while since I've watched the Quad Tear match.
Yeah, that was the first one that came to my mind too.
But that, and I think some of the others, TLC 2.
Well, I mean, we kind of that was the WrestleMania one, right? Or was that 3?
I think that was WrestleMania. Well, that's the one I'm thinking of, is the WrestleMania one.
Okay. Yeah, obviously we kind of had our little disagreements there where I didn't think it aged as well. But yeah, there's probably a few that we're kind of overlooking.
Yeah, and yeah, but can't. And I think that's the big thing is
And I'm
there's been a
hoping,
lot of good tag wrestling over the years, but I feel like is there really a lot of like go-to great tag matches in WWF history?
um, I don't know. I mean, I know some of the Bulldog stuff. You know, I know that there are some. I'm almost sure that there are like some Bulldogs Heart Foundation matches that people just rave and rave over, but there are ones that not everybody's seen.
Isn't one of those things where, well, see, and that's the tough part. Is it's hard to find the Saturday night main event stuff, and I hear there's a lot of good ones on those. Hoping the network puts them on there. Unless they are really easy to find, and I'm just a dumbass.
I'm sure that some of that stuff is definitely coming. I've been told all the MSG shows that they have are going to come up on the network soon. So
Yeah, I saw that they put a couple of those on there already, and it's like, oh, this is awesome.
yeah, definitely give us more San Martino. Give us more Backlund. I
Oh
mean,
yeah, Backlund. Oh man, but yeah, I mean, I'm sure we can talk about the network a little bit more later. But back to the match. Everyone came out looking great in that match. There wasn't a single weak performance.
and you got to see frickin' Luke Harper do a tope.
Yes. There was no Hurricanrana though from him. I want him so bad to bust that out.
And I'm pretty sure that with Rowan out there, I mean that's pretty much the only guy, period, that can kind of base for Harper in WWE.
Uh, yeah, but you know, I'm just sitting there and thinking, holy hell! I did, everything about it was great. I mean, the psychology was great, the action was great. You know, they planted a lot of storylines, seeds for storylines coming out of it, with the Shield, Ascension, Rollins. Rollins might be my MVP for that match.
That's not an indefensible, statement to make at all.
Yeah, I mean him or actually, I'm pretty solidified in saying that he is like. There's no for everyone that was great. I think he was a step above everyone else. Like he just had that a little, and I think it was just a product of he got a bit more time in the match. But Harper was on fire. Rowan looked great. Wyatt looked great. You know, Reigns and Ambrose were awesome as always. Like
That had to be one of the few times in his career where Ambrose probably ever worked as a babyface.
yeah, definitely. It's a rare occurrence.
And it kind of worked. Like, there was still, like, people I was with, it's kind of, you know, there was some stuff about kind of looking freaky, but it worked.
Yeah, I mean, in that situation, yeah, I think it's a rare situation where it's gonna work for him. And I don't mean that he would be bad at it. I think it's a case of what's optimal. And him ever working as a babyface is not optimal. It's like with Punk. Yeah, he makes a decent enough babyface, even good at times. But as a heel, he works optimal. Just like Rey Mysterio. Optimal as a babyface. Passable as a heel. And I think that's being kind. Like, it's a situation where I think as a singles guy, he couldn't work it. It wouldn't be the best, situation.
I don't know, maybe he can do everything. Did you ever think about that?
He does have all the numbers.
But I mean, yeah, just, great stuff there. A lot of the show was really a lot of fun. Save the Batista match, save the primetime players exploding, and save the Divas match, which I honestly can't say. I can only say that from the reviews and everything I've heard, because that match was a literal piss break for me. I went out
Oh,
there, I went to the bathroom, I got some nachos and a hot dog, and by the time I got back, it was over. So
Yeah, you didn't miss anything. It was probably best for your sanity. It was bad. It was bad. I gotta say it. I did clap. Props to ADR because holy hell was he trying to stand us up there.
yeah, but there's not much you can do.
There's not much you can do, but oh God, that's one of those. He's one of those guys that I want to love so much, and I genuinely do. But they just don't give him much to work with, and when they give him something to work with, he fucking knocks it out of the park.
Well, and I don't know. I don't know what it is with him, but like, there's something missing in the overall package.
Well, and I think that is he can't. He can't. I feel like he can't carry a storyline himself in terms of. I don't think he can go out there and sort of craft it on his own. I think it needs to be put in there, and he needs direction. And I could be completely off base on this, but this is just how I see it. Is when he's given something concrete and good material to work with, it's fantastic. I feel like he plays to the level of the material he's given. He's not someone that could take something that's passable and sort of improvise it enough to make it good.
Very possible. I mean, I just, I've defended some of his promos before. I mean, his promos can be a little inconsistent, but his good ones are good. He's a very good in-ring performer, but there's this level of engagement, it feels like, that, no matter how much he's been pushed over the years, in which he has. I mean, he's been consistently, at least for SmackDown, in the world title picture, basically since he's debuted. But there's just, as I said, I mean, there's that spark. There's that this fucking guy kind of feeling about him that's missing.
Yeah, I feel like it is, despite all those consistent pushes, I mean, where are they actually? It feels like it's just throw him out there. Like, except like stuff like, they gave him the big show and they gave him that great story to work with. It was fantastic, and he got that connection. Everyone was loving him. His work with Ziggler in terms of, the double turn. And, working heel in that match against him. Even, like, thrown in, with the Cena and Punk stuff. He was fantastic. He was given good material to work with. I feel like... And I wonder if how much would this be a different story if Edge hadn't had to retire?
Yeah, definitely, something to kind of put out there.
So I gotta ask, how much could you actually tell what was going on? How for the Elimination Chamber? Like, how, from an outside perspective, how much could you tell? Was it super obstructed or what?
It wasn't super obstructed. I mean, the seats that we were basically right behind Orton's pod.
Okay.
But we were up like a level. And so we could kind of see through there. There were a few spots there where things weren't great. And it was usually the spots on the outside, like on the far side of the chamber.
Okay.
And not so much the stuff in the ring. But, I mean, like whenever, for example, and this was kind of on the other side, whenever Cesaro went in and, was taunting John Cena there, it was still, you could see exactly what was going on, and it wasn't bad. It was a lot harder, for example, to watch the Honor Rumble and Ring of Honor whenever they were here last time than it was to watch this.
Okay, because I never knew how much like the actual cage construction was good for looking in and seeing the action.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
Okay.
Yeah, and then, obviously the chamber, God, Cesaro looked great.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. It was... I actually think I ended up enjoying the match more than others because I wasn't super surprised by the ending and wasn't too upset about it. And the one guy that I will say that I feel like I know an apology to, Christian. I was critical of you being put in the chamber. I thought there was a lot of better other options. And you know what? You proved me wrong. You went out there and fucking killed it. Especially heel Christian has been awesome so far.
And I gotta love. I gotta love Minneapolis for that crowd. It was great.
I'm
It's
trying to think.
My voice was hoarse as I was leaving, and no smile apart because of "Let's Go Wyatt." But it was just, the stuff in the chamber, the stuff in the Batista match. I gotta admit, I loved it. I didn't love the match, mind you, but I loved the chants that'd be coming through and they'd get picked up as we were kind of going through there.
Oh, you.
And then, obviously, the pussy chant. Whenever it first really started picking up, man, they were getting the right now.
Oh, jeez. Oh, Minneapolis. So, were people there expecting Brock Lesnar?
Yes. It's the Kane fucked up, and he fucked up bad whenever he gave that interview and said Lesnar would be there.
Oh man.
Because that had gotten around. And so, like, anytime there was kind of a lull and you thought it might happen, there was this kind of buzz in the crowd, and then it didn't.
Do you think that there might have actually had been a plan for Lesnar, and they pulled the plug at the last minute?
I don't know. I know that there were reports that they were wanting to replace Christian at the last minute, but not with Lesnar. So.
Alrighty. But yeah, I thought the chamber match overall was good. Like I thoroughly enjoyed it. A lot of fun spots, like the bro kick through the fucking pod was awesome, and I loved. You couldn't really see it, I imagine, with your spot, but Orton sitting there and was taunting the hell out of Sheamus. So many great facial expressions, so much like bringing it, as he's like locked in the pod. It was great. He just taunted him and then finally just wow.
Well, you couldn't see like necessarily the facial expression, but you could kind of tell something was going on, obviously. But
oh yeah, the facial expressions, and like you could kind of verbally a little bit like lip read what he was saying and stuff. It was great.
But the thing about it is that I mentioned the pussy chant, and despite everything else that had kind of been going on with the chant obviously probably not being what they wanted, he sold it perfectly. He kind of turned and sold it to the crowd, and that was enough to kind of get it to stop. And it just kind of shows because Orton was the one that had some trouble whenever the chants had taken over some of his stuff before, and it seemed to like really kind of throw him off in some of the matches, like the Sheamus match at last year's post WrestleMania, and some of the stuff over that summer, and some of the stuff through the Authority storyline. It seemed like chanting stuff would throw him off of his game, but instead just kind of turning to the crowd and making this like, how dare you guys? I'm trying my hardest here kind of face. It killed the chant, and it's like, why doesn't... And I know that WWE does not really do improvisation. It's not part of what they are. But just small things like that, I think, would kind of kill these audience taking over, reactions that, by all accounts, for the most part, they're hating.
Well, and I think that's something Orton's become really good at. Like, I'm trying to think, was the Cena matchup, like, the chanting something at him, and so what's he do? He just sits there and strikes his pose. And he's actually learned to just steer into the skid and play into it. Play into what they're trying to do. Because it's not cool if suddenly it doesn't become cool if you're sitting there and agreeing with them or playing into it. Or, encourage them a bit to get that sort of back and forth to turn it towards your side as a performer. Because if you'll show a bit of engagement, I think the crowd will roll with you.
Yep. Definitely, no disagreement there. Anything else really on the chamber? Obviously, most of the matches were pretty solid. The tag match was, I think, even though I don't necessarily think the Usos are as good as the Rhodes brothers, I actually think their tag match with the Outlaws was better than any of the Rhodes brothers with them. And I don't know if that is just that Gunn and Road Dogg are getting actually into like ring shape because they've been working more often, or if there was just kind of a chemistry thing, but it felt like it worked a little better.
Yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of it is they're letting the Usos' personality shine in the ring when they're in there with the Outlaws. They do get to do this sort of. It's a lot more about the personalities in the ring there than the action, and I feel like that's where it's coming from. And you get like the small things. Like, was this actually the next night, or was it Sunday where he does the DX chop where he's hitting the splash?
That was the next night.
That was the next night. Okay. Well, they're sort of having these in-ring and the trash talking and all that. It seems to work better than with the Rhodes brothers for some reason. Don't know, but I'm looking forward to an Usos title run. Like, I assume they're going to take the titles at Mania.
Probably, and probably with the way things are going, probably in like a multi-man match. Probably with the Rhodes and with somebody else to make sure that they get more people on the card. Maybe Ryback still. Hopefully not the Real Americans, because it looks like they're finally starting to do something with Cesaro and everything. All right, so what did you think of Raw and Green Bay?
Overall, pretty much enjoyed it. Like, got to see ADR trying his damnedest again. Without a crutch, though, which I was sad. Because I would have loved it if he pulled that voodoo for twice. Or, like, escalated it. Like, on Raw, he came out in, like, a wheelchair.
I was faking last night, but last night you hurt me.
You actually hurt me. Shit. Like, where do we start? Give me some direction, because there's a lot to digest about Raw.
I know that it wasn't the match they had the night before, but I don't think that Reigns and Wyatt deserved that crowd response.
Yes, agree with you. And I don't think they deserved the reaction to that match as much. Like, I feel like people are overreacting and sort of trashing the match a bit more than actually is deserved. And I think it is because it's coming off the heels of Wyatt had a nearly 5-star match with Bryan, or 5-star in your boat, the down in the ass. Reigns had a great singles match with Punk. They had the 6-man tag, the night before, a 5-star match in my book. Yeah, it was not a super great match, but I don't think it was as bad as everyone's trying to talk about it. And I do think there was a mitigating factor where they had to extend that match longer than they had planned.
Possibly, but to me it was a slower match. It was a more methodical match. It was a different kind of story than they were trying to tell the night before. It was more about kind of the Wyatt character not being able to use, the numbers game and really trying to figure out this guy who'd been basically as hot as anybody else in WWE, over the last few months. And, I kind of got that through the storytelling. it could have been better.
Mm-hmm.
It could have been better, but I didn't think it was bad. And it's like,
Yeah, I'm with you there, and I think the first 2/3 of the match were quite good actually, and then I think near the end they sort of, I feel like it is we need to extend you guys. This needs, they got the signal to make it go longer, and neither of them really knew what to do with it from there. And I think an issue, I feel like what some people might have problems was there wasn't a certain momentum to the match because they weren't really letting either guy get complete control. They really were telling a story of, oh, these guys are actually kind of evenly matched. Neither guy is truly getting the upper hand here.
yeah, and so what were your thoughts on Hogan?
Oh my gosh. I was just laughing too much. Like I was never a big Hogan mark at any point. Like I was a little Bret Hart mark growing up. So I was never like a Hulkamaniac. It was cool to see him back, I guess, but then he had, opened his mouth and could not get through the network promo.
They launched the WWE Universe.
Yeah, they launched the WWE Universe, which is launching the WWE Network. It was just a riot.
Yeah, it's just, I know that there is this kind of feeling overall that having Hogan back in WWE, considering, what a big deal that he's been for so long, that it's just kind of, it's like him coming home. But in 2014, is he really necessary?
See, and I think they're going to be smart about it so far. Have him come out and pimp the network, which makes sense. He's a big part of the catalog. Have him host WrestleMania. It's not something that is necessary, but I think he is value added.
As much value as Batista?
At this point, I feel like Hogan hosting WrestleMania 30 is more value in my book than Batista wrestling in it.
Yeah, that's just one of the things where it's like Vince's desire, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if it is just the last couple WrestleManias where he kind of feels like he needs that, he needs that Rock type persona. He needs something there, as opposed to just letting his guys go out there and do their thing.
Well, that's kind of been the deal with WrestleMania from the beginning. It's about the spectacle. It's about the celebrity. It's about all of the added trappings compared to a normal pay-per-view.
To some extent, but not always. And not to this level, the level where it's backfired on him like Batista has.
Yeah, and I think that is just a issue of putting your eggs in the wrong basket. And I think it's something worth Batista. I feel like if we had brought him in post-Mania, either or, this past Mania or this coming one, and he's still working the 2-year deal, I think if it gets around to the point where he does get that big push leading into the next Mania, it's not as big a deal. Because he's been there for a while, and it doesn't seem as much, because he's going to be working a full schedule for all intents and purposes, apparently. That I think the issue was just, he wasn't the right guy that you could just drop in right there at the Rumble and for Mania season say, boom. Especially in the shape he's in. And frankly, he was never as big a star as, The Rock. Not that there ever really was. It's backfiring, but I wonder for us if that turns out to be the best possible thing. Because I don't think they put that match on last. I think Triple H Bryan or Lesnar Taker, less likely. But I honestly think it's going to be Triple H Bryan as the main event.
How do you feel about them going in that direction as opposed to the rumors that they were going to insert him in the title match and use someone like Reigns for Triple H's vanity spot?
You know, I'm inclined to say I kind of like it more because it does make more sense storyline. He's got to take out Triple H. Let's say he beats Triple H. I don't think Triple H is going to go over. I mean, I would put that at like 0.05% chance. That it then becomes, all right, he has earned Triple H approval, and now it gives him a storyline coming out of Mania to go, okay, now I can go after the title without Triple H interfering in it. I think if he wins the title at Mania, where's the story coming from there? And I think Triple H was always sort of the bigger notch in his belt anyway to get that win.
See, in that aspect, I can definitely see it, but I mean, I still definitely think that there would be a direction if he was to win the title coming down Mania. I mean, the direction would be, who can Triple H find to take back his title from this guy who he doesn't see as a champion? You know, it could lead to a Daniel Bryan versus the World scenario for a few months where he's trying, you know, maybe he even gets like somebody that Bryan thinks is a friend, like a Sheamus or something, to turn under the promise of, you know, we're going to make you our new corporate champion. You're going to be the face of the company kind of situation.
See, and I don't think that's something that's still precluded necessarily. Maybe it does become an issue where Triple H says, all right, you'll get your fair shake. Bryan ends up winning the title anyway, and then he could still go for that. All right, you got your fair shake. And just like he's been doing with Orton, now prove that you deserve to stay here. And it becomes maybe necessarily a respect angle in terms of, you know, Bryan as the fighting champion.
I gotta admit though, I'm just the mark in me is concerned about Triple H and Mania and the fact that like the only people that he's really jobbed to in the last seemingly 5 years in Mania has been the Undertaker. You know, it made no sense for him to beat Lesnar like he did last year, and he did. You know, you look over the years, I mean, there was no reason for him to beat Booker T with that storyline, and he did. And admittedly, that was a different time. That was him as an active competitor and not him as, you know, a semi-regular guy. But there's still reason to be concerned.
Well, you know what? And I'm just going to throw this out there why I think I feel better about this matchup anyway. I think Bryan Triple H is going to be a better match than if you threw Bryan in a triple threat with Batista and Orton.
To me,
and then whoever would be the replacement for a match with Triple H.
The concern, though, with at least for me about that would be, that the idea of Batista and Orton at WrestleMania, that scares me. And not just in a thing, it's like, God, the crowd's going to shit all over that, but I mean, Batista's barely able to work 90 seconds without gassing. Even giving him a month, he's not going to be in shape to do any kind of a longer match.
So, which is why it's more important to have the Bryan Triple H match, especially since I think that's going to be the main event.
Well, I mean, my thought was including
that takes a larger chunk.
Someone like Bryan would be, him and Orton can do most of the work while Batista rests. He can come in, have 15 seconds, and then go rest again.
See, that would just bug the shit out of me. Give Orton Batista 10 minutes. And then, because I think Undertaker Lesnar is going to take up a huge chunk. I think Bryan Triple H is going to take a huge chunk. I think Wyatt Cena will be a longer match than Orton Batista. I feel like it's in a situation where they've sort of are surrounding enough pieces that they don't actually have to have Orton Batista go that long. At least we can only hope.
Yeah, I still kind of feel like that's pipe dream.
Yeah. It's Mania season. I'm going to be hopeful. Especially since I honestly believe 99% John Cena's doing the job for Bray Wyatt.
That's something where I kind of think so, but then at the same time, I also would not be surprised at all if they pushed that back to if they had Cena go over at WrestleMania, because Cena has lost the last few pay-per-views, and then had Wyatt pick up the win in some kind of stipulation match at Extreme Rules.
See, and I think if they are really as big on Wyatt as they are, they want to give him his signature WrestleMania moment. They are very adamant about giving that to guys that they want to push forward. The idea for Shane, it backfired on them in the best possible manner, but the whole thing was to get Sheamus a sort of notable, with 18 seconds, was to give Sheamus a notable WrestleMania moment that we could all remember. I think what gives me a lot of hope, besides the fact that Cena's been, putting guys over of late, is the one guy who's arguably been most protected in terms of taking a clean loss put Bryan over at the Royal Rumble. I mean, put Wyatt over at the Royal Rumble, and that's Daniel Bryan, who hasn't lost clean in how fucking long? Before SummerSlam?
Yeah, probably somewhere in there.
Even longer before that? Like, he has not lost clean in forever. And they had him lose clean to Bray Wyatt. So I kind of think, and you know what? Cena doesn't even have to put over Wyatt clean. And I don't think he necessarily needs to, especially with a character like Wyatt.
You don't think that would kind of come back and bite them in the ass if they're trying to push him forward?
I think it depends on how they do it. Especially with it being like the golden boy at Mania. Like, how does it really hurt Wyatt if he uses underhanded tactics to win? To take down the hero. He can sit there and, cut a promo talking about it the next night on Raw. That, there are no rules and yada yada, something like that. I don't know. Something that genius would come up with. Would it be great if he did? Yeah. And I'm actually inclined to think that Cena will put him over clean. But I don't think it being a dirty finish necessarily makes it any worse. And doesn't help Wyatt as much.
All right, we knew it was happening. Now it's officially happening. Thoughts on Lesnar, Undertaker?
I fucking love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it. Those two are awesome. They're going to go out there and put on a fucking hell of a match. And, I mean, their last match was amazing. Granted, it was years ago, but Lesnar hasn't lost a step in the ring. Undertaker hasn't really lost a step in terms of, his performances, his once-a-year performance. I'm looking forward to it. And how fucking awesome was that segment? Oh my god. He fucking stabbed him with the damn pen. I loved it. I loved every minute of it. And I love the way they set it up. It was simple and to the point. Brock wanted history, and he got it.
Do you think that, although, it's pretty obvious this was the direction they were going to it, do you think that the way that they've kind of handled this Lesnar return has been, I hate to use this phrase because this phrase based on the way the internet uses it has kind of come to mean absolutely nothing. But the only phrase I can think of is kind of botched. I mean, he comes back with the idea that he is the default number one contender. And yeah, he's wrestling Undertaker, but the only match he's wrestled since has been a mid-card 2-minute match with the Big Show. There's been no touch really on that angle except for like the night after the Royal Rumble where he wanted either Batista or Orton. He was at the Royal Rumble but not at Elimination Chamber. It just kind of felt like they had this idea and maybe they had a different idea originally. And nothing really came from it.
I wonder if this is a situation where they were actually seriously considering Bryan for the streak match. Because Taker had allegedly pushed for it. And I wouldn't even go to say that they screwed it up. I've been fine with it. Completely cool with it. Especially since just for that one segment made up for it, I think. And we still have all this great Mania build. I was fine with them going with this Lesnar's on the outside, pouncing. He's sort of the great monster, waiting to strike his chance at the title. And if he can't force his way in, well, now he's got the Undertaker. And who knows? Maybe Lesnar will get that title shot at some point. I don't know. But I'm fine with it because I kind of enjoyed the idea that they kind of placed him out there as this outside actor that we weren't sure he was going to actually get involved or not. We could sit there and say, oh, well, we want Bryan to come up for the main event title. But we have Orton and Batista and all these people involved. But there's the shadow of Lesnar. And I kind of like that the shadow of Lesnar was just there, even if it doesn't come of anything. I was cool with it.
Even if he hadn't been seen in 3 weeks.
Yep.
All right. Given everything else...
Because I still get fucking Undertaker on Lesnar.
Given everything else, is there really... Impact was fine. I thought that they did a really good job with the Gunner, the segments and everything. And even his performance with Magnus, I thought made him look like a bigger deal than he had in years. Is there really anything else there on Impact, like, at all?
Samuel Shaw kidnapped. Literally kidnapped someone, as the announcers were just like, okay. Yeah, and can I just say, it's still Gunner. Like, I mean, he had an alright match with Magnus, but it's still Gunner. I'm gonna need to see more. It's like, alright, cool. They did a lot for him there. Now he needs to follow through with solid to good performances. And I don't know if he can pull it off. Especially if he's going up against an aging has lost quite a few steps. in a freaking cage match. Oh my god. Oh god, why can't I even think of his name?
Storm.
Storm. I didn't want to say that because you know what? I was about to say that and then you know what popped into my head, right?
Lance Storm.
Yeah, because I was thinking about what event to watch for next week earlier, and I've been watching some Lance Storm stuff. I'm like, no, that's not right. You've just been watching too much Lance Storm stuff.
God, that's not a good fate.
What, watching Lance Storm stuff?
I think there's too much Lance Storm stuff. Storm is one of those guys that I don't think his stuff holds up near as well as... He was one of those guys where it's like, this guy should be pushed, but there was always something missing.
I miss Storm Dust.
And that's not to say that I don't like Lance Storm, that I think that he was bad or anything. No, I don't think he was bad. I don't think that he was a can't-miss kind of guy, because I don't think you can look at a great Lance Storm match. I think he had a number of good matches, but even whenever he was given more time, even whenever he's put up higher on the card in WCW and stuff, I don't think you can point to a great Lance Storm match.
I feel like some of his stuff in ECW, I feel like I could point to and say it's a great match.
Well, then I guess you now know what you'll need to pick maybe not next week, but we'll need to readdress this argument on a future episode, I feel.
What do you mean maybe not next week? Am I not picking next week now?
Yeah, you are, but
Oh.
if you had something else already picked, it's like you don't have to go back and change your plans just for a Lance Storm debate.
No, I actually have a couple in my mind, and I actually haven't fully decided. Damn you, network.
Yeah, the network can definitely be a little, and it's in a good way, but it's kind of a little overwhelming. But let's talk about that now.
Yeah, loving the network now that the issue. Today I was able to watch without any issues.
Yes.
Except for the damn. What do you call the little thingy, the buffering thing, and you drag your little dot around it?
The Seek?
The progress bar? Yeah, the Seek or whatever, isn't terrible. It's so bad.
Well,
I will move it to a certain point, and it should have a feature where it tells me what the time frame is that I'm moving it along with. It doesn't even do that to the side where it says the time. But I'll move it over to something, and then I'll hop it back 5 minutes from where I wanted it. And I'm like, no, I want to go back more than your 10-second back button. And then frustrating.
I mean, and obviously, God, if you don't know this and you're listening to this show, I don't know what to tell you. But that the WWE Network launched this week. Well, I mean, it's something where it is like.
What are you doing listening to this podcast? Go work at McDonald's for 1 hour so you can buy a month of the network.
But yeah, but I mean, it's a little overwhelming, kind of in a good way, just because like I get on there and it's like, okay, what do I want to watch? Oh God, what do I want to watch?
Yeah. They put all the names right there, and you're like, I do wish they kind of did it where you could go like a chronological list as opposed to just the pay-per-view names. And then you click on it, and then it gives you like a chronological list of ones only of that name. I wish I could go click on like WWF and then click on a list by chronology.
Yeah, that would. And I'm
watching something I could easily just click like, oh, I want to see what happened on the next pay-per-view and how this feud continued.
I assume some of that stuff is coming, as well as better search features and the ability to resume across devices. I mean, that's a big one.
Or on the same device, I can't resume.
Yeah.
Just not even across device, on the same damn device. Save my fucking progress, you bastards. Especially if you're not going to be able to save my progress, then have a fucking seek bar and progress bar, whatever the fuck you want to call it, that works.
No, you have to sit through the intro again.
God damn. You have no ideas how many times I sat through the Beach Blast intro trying to watch Scotty Flamingo and Bryan Pilman.
I was going to say, you have to sit through Marcus Bagwell and Greg Valentine again.
God.
But, yeah, I mean, overall, it's a fucking dream. I mean,
yes.
Despite Rex's rather angry critiquing, it is just like...
That's nitpicking at this point.
It is the wet dream that wrestling fans have been waiting for years.
Yes. And they haven't even uploaded all the cool stuff yet. Well, I mean, all the stuff that has me most excited. Like, I want to go watch more of the MSG shows they've posted a couple of, and they're apparently going to post all of them on there. I want to see their library outside of WWE, WCW, and ECW. I want to go see AWA. I want to watch so many fucking AWA matches.
Yeah, Mid-South and World Class and,
Do they have Mid-South?
Yeah, they do.
Oh, what was it there?
They bought it from Bill Watts' wife.
Yeah, I was thinking of something else.
They don't own Memphis.
Stuff.
Yeah,
the Memphis stuff is a shit show, apparently. But I think we've talked about that on here.
Yeah.
I love the roundtable stuff. I love the countdown stuff. Put all the Legends roundtables on there. We don't even have Legends House yet, which is going to be the greatest thing ever. And I kind of do like that they do have that live streaming thing, too. So where you kind of just like, oh, I'm chilling for 20 minutes. Let me drop in and see what the live stream is showing.
It's hard to it's easy to get lost in that stuff.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, overall, just great. And once more gets added, it's going to be even greater. If you're on the fence, especially now that it looks like all the on-demand stuff has been fixed, what are you waiting on?
Just buy it. Buy it. Not even just for that. Watch the fucking pay-per-views. Just for the fucking pay-per-views, you get more for your money.
As well as every week now that there's a steady place to, although I might be kind of a troll in some points and deliberately go through and pick stuff that's not on the network.
Oh, I know. I still will. I was tempted to do it for next week.
Pick some clashes or pick,
That wasn't you and fucking clashes.
Clashes are great. Fuck you, man. It's like 2 hours of wrestling, and depending on the time frame, there's some that you really don't want to go back to, but there's some that are pretty damn good, and it's just...
Yeah, but I feel like for every 1 minute of awesomeness I have to watch for a clash, there's 5 minutes of complete and utter shit that makes me want to scoop my brains out.
The only show that was like that was the 94 one, and I outright admitted beforehand that I just wanted it for the Haas fight.
Oh man, yeah, I kind of want to go into the future. I want to do an All Japan one. Bring some more ROH stuff in.
But I mean, yeah, going forward, if it's on the network, which this is going to be really cool. If it's on the network, there's going to be a link on every episode. Obviously I can't go back and change all the ones before, but going forward, if for this show. For this episode, there's going to be a link right there whenever I publish the episode, and you can just watch it from there. You can watch it and then come back and listen to us talk about it. Or you can listen to us talk about it beforehand, but I don't think that's as much fun.
Holy shit, this would make it so much... The network makes it so much easier. We could actually do like a live stream because everyone would have the same... Someday, like a running commentary. Like Mystery Science Theater 3000 style.
Absolutely. It'll make it. We could do something for our live show in Mania.
Ooh.
Which.
Well, wait. Did you say during Mania?
Well, no, not during Mania. No.
I was gonna say I can't really do that.
No. Because if we pull this other stuff off, we'll be there in fucking Santa Clara.
Oh, you're talking. Oh, yeah. I thought you were talking about this Mania. I'm like, what?
No.
Oh yeah. No, I know you're talking about that great idea. Yes, that would be awesome.
Yeah, should we keep it under wraps or should we? Because nothing might ever happen. But yeah.
Nothing might ever happen. But I feel like it'd be a cool idea. Just talk about it.
In no popular podcast, this is an off-the-top rope idea. You are not allowed to come in and take this idea and take our prospective money. So, if you're from a competing podcast, no, this is trademark. Damn it. But the idea was next year for WrestleMania to see if there would be a bar or something that would let us come in and, no matter how we do it, whether it's charge a little bit at the door or, work off a percentage of whatever they sell while we're in there, I don't know. I've never done this thing kind of thing, which probably means it's probably not going to happen because I'm going to fuck it up, but the idea would
what? We will set up in a parking lot somewhere and you can just come hang out and be on the podcast.
But the idea would be to do like a live show, the week of Mania. Probably not a night where there's anything going on, but, maybe right beforehand. We'll do like an early evening and then we could all walk to one of the fucking, like a Ring of Honor show or something and all hang out at the Ring of Honor show. And just put something up on a projector on the big screen and kind of Mystery Science Theater 3000 it and have, shout outs from the crowd and all kinds of fun stuff. So
Yes. And speaking of which, off the top rope listeners, if you are going to the Chicago Chikara show in June, let me know because I will be there.
He means bring your girlfriend so he can make a move on him.
That too.
He can Biggie Langston that girl. Especially now that he's no longer using the Langston, there should be a sexual move called the Biggie Langston. I don't know what it'd be.
That sounds like just the Big E.
We are way...
What? Yeah, I don't even know what we're doing now.
Yeah,
Should we get to Beach Blast?
Yeah, we went so far off the reservation that we're just like wandering around now.
Oh, it's because we're so excited about the network. It's got us fried. We've been watching too much wrestling. By the way, what was your first network match?
I went through and watched the episode of World Class that was on there. Well, part of it until I had buffering issues because this was on Monday, whenever it wasn't quite worked out.
Cool beans.
So, and then I've watched like some In Your House 3, and I've watched some of the live stream, and I've watched some of the ECW. So,
Sweet.
all right.
Mine was Flamingo Bryan.
All right. Should we take a break and come back and talk some Beach Blast?
Yep.
All right. We'll be right back, everybody.
You see, life is greatness, and greatness is what you make out of it, you understand?
Hey, everybody. It's Mike and Rex from Off the Top Rope. We wanted to take this break to let you know all the ways you can interact with the show and all the ways you can listen to the show. You can get links to everything we talk about here from our website, which is offthetopropelibsyn. That's LIBSYN.com.
If you want to email the show, it's topropepodcast@gmail.com. We'll read your comments on the air, so let us know what you think.
To follow us on Twitter, we're at Top Rope Podcast. We tweet show updates, post the show as soon as it's up, retweet news from around the world of wrestling, and sometimes it's just random wrestling thoughts by yours truly. All wrestling talk, all the time on Twitter.
You can now like us on Facebook at facebook.com/topropepodcast. This is still new, but we're going to be working on adding pictures, links, and all kinds of good stuff.
You can follow us on Tumblr at topropepodcast.tumblr.com. There we post matches of the day, wrestlers of the day. We try and update those just about every day. We add random photos, lots of fun stuff. Now, if you want to listen to us, you can listen to us through an RSS reader. If you want to listen to the show through an Android app like Dogcatcher, Linux program like Rhythmbox, or a Windows program like Media Monkey, among many others, this is the way you do it. You'll make sure the episodes are delivered to you just as soon as they're uploaded.
If you're on iTunes, we're available there too. Just do a search for Off the Top Rope. Look for our logo, subscribe, give us a good review.
We're also available on Stitcher. Just search Off the Top Rope or Pro Wrestling. Either way, we're right there on the front page. There are lots of ways to interact with the show and lots of ways to get the show to your computer, iPhone or iPad, Android device, BlackBerry, whatever you use to listen to podcasts. We hope you check us out, and we'll be right back with the show review.
Take a look at it, learn to love it. I'm not going anywhere.
Beach Blast 92.
Yes.
Pretty much like right after Bill Watts had taken over. He might have been there a few weeks beforehand, but...
Yeah, and did they shit on his rules?
Oh, yeah. To be fair, some of the rules were pretty dumb.
Some? What was a good one?
I like the idea, particularly kind of whenever they're trying to present themselves as like this hardcore, well, not quite hardcore, but kind of this more real counter. I like the removal of the crash mats.
Oh, I think that's the worst one. Talk about safety there.
This is 1992 pro wrestling. Nobody cares about safety.
Yeah, but at least the crash mats kind of help.
You know, as I said, I mean, I got that one. The off the top rope stuff.
She said you can still come off the second rope.
Or if you're both on the top rope, you could hit a move off the top rope,
Yeah.
as we'd see.
They both Jesse and JR were just kind of shitting on the rules the whole time. Oh my god! But how about that opening? I just love the crazy cartoon and oh
I thought it was with Jesse and the Daytime Strippers,
oh well that comes next.
because those were some rough looking.
First we gotta have. I don't think they were. I don't know though. I'd have to go back and watch. I wasn't paying that much
No,
attention. They
that
seem
was the thing that stood
well.
out to me. It's like, if this is Jesse being a ladies' man, then it reminded me of
Yeah.
the story in. Did you ever read Jericho's first book?
It's been forever.
Okay, he's telling this.
You have to remind me. I'll
He's
probably
telling
remember
this
it.
story whenever he's debuting in Smoky Mountain with Lance Storm and Cornette
Yeah.
has these women that they're supposed to be excited about being with, and it's like he was begging him. It's like we can find more attractive women just out on the street to do this.
I didn't think they were that bad from what I briefly remember. Not Jericho with Ventura, but no, we got to open with a Watts promo too. And the ridiculous the ridiculous Hawaiian shirts of Bischoff and Shivani with them tucked in. And then JR in his little Hawaiian shirt. Oh my god, and they're all wearing shorts and shit. Except for Ventura, who for some reason has a fucking rat tail. I forgot about that.
Because he's
And his bandana and a scarf for some reason.
well, you know there's some reason, although clearly it's
Yeah,
not.
that's
It
come into play later.
kind of.
Which reminds me, did Jesse Ventura rape Medusa? Is that what we were supposed to? What the hell was going on there? We'll get to that later.
I think if there was more of a thing, it'd be that Johnny B. Bad sexually assaulted her, considering that they kind of had a struggle and he came out with her top. But
Yeah, but it looked like she was about to assault him. She's the one who dragged him in there. Yeah, that entire. Do we want to knock those segments out of the way, or just do it? No, let's just do them as we go. All right, let's get to Scotty
all right,
Flamingo.
yeah. Opening match: Flying Bryan against Scotty Flamingo. And who is Scotty Flamingo for anybody who might not be aware?
Goldberg.
Are you?
No, it is the Raven. God. I never get tired of the Scotty Flamingo stuff because it's the complete and utter opposite of what you think of if I'm to mention Raven to you.
Well, to be fair, I think he even went further down that rabbit hole whenever he was Johnny Polo.
Oh God, yes.
Because then he was like, even with Scotty Flamingo, he was just kind of a generic, like, douche heel who wore neon. Whenever he was Scotty Polo, he was like purely into the snob kind of heel.
Yeah. But you know, when you think of Raven, you don't think of like a tanned, long hair, surfer bro, like a pretty boy. That is what Scotty Flamingo was. He was early 90s Fandango.
See, and it's kind of odd because obviously now, whenever I look at it, it's like, what the fuck is, fucking Raven? At the time, it's like, oh, hey, it's Scotty the Body from GWF. Scott Anthony.
I always just find it humorous that there was ever a time in his life that you could call Raven the Body.
What, are you saying that you weren't a fan of his, like, kilt-only getup?
Man.
You saying that's not a handsome man?
I mean, it's hard to tell with like a t-shirt and combat boots trolling around the mall and driving his Ferrari. My favorite wrestling outside the arena segment of all time. Raven goes shopping at the mall.
And, with this match, I gotta say, I think Raven is still a little green here. And so this is kind of Flying Bryan's, I'm not going to say it's his broomstick style match because I'm going to give, Raven, Flamingo, Levy, whatever, a little more credit than that. But it's definitely more of a one-man show, which isn't the only match on this show that, is a good match because it's a one-man show.
Yeah, I still enjoyed it. Yes, the in-ring work was definitely left up to Bryan. But it worked because they let Flamingo kind of just heal it up a bit. He got to throw in there and show off his personality and sort of, interplay with the crowd while Bryan was doing most of the heavy lifting. But, it's still, a Bryan carry job is still especially at this point in time, a damn, a good match. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree there. And, kind of a weird surprise to have. It makes me wonder if there were like other plans that just kind of fizzled. Because they do the title change, and then Flamingo really does absolutely nothing with it. Like loses to Brandon Armstrong a few months later, and then a few months after that, it's officially kind of retired. Whereas with Pilman, they'd done this stuff with Liger, and it seemed like they had a direction. I wonder if they did have a direction going into this, and it just kind of got lost in the shuffle, or if it was more just Bill Watts kind of intentionally trying to get the title off him so he could kind of try and kill it, or what, but...
Yeah, I don't know, because they did sort of have that streak going for Flamingo, so who knows? What would have happened? Can you imagine this alternate history? What would have happened if they had actually kept pushing Flamingo? And he becomes a fixture of WCW. We never get him going to ECW. We never get him becoming Raven.
I don't know. I think...
What kind of world would that be?
Maybe in another world he kind of becomes Stone Cold. Maybe, whenever someone comes in that
he becomes Sting.
Huh?
He becomes Sting.
I don't know. I'd see him eventually going to ECW just because, given all of his... everything that you know about him, I can't see him sticking around in WCW. Well, I mean, and I'm not necessarily saying it's a negative thing, but he was somebody that was always kind of known as having a very strong personality and not afraid to kind of clash with management. And I assume even if it hadn't rubbed Watts the wrong way, it would have rubbed Bischoff or one of the other executives or agents the wrong way, going forward.
What if getting all that money made him become not a strong personality? Like, all right, let's say they push him and he becomes a star. Like, oh, yeah. I'll listen to you guys. You just keep the dough rolling. I don't know. Oh my God, but I just kind of wish we could have had some day and age where there's a Starrcade main evented by Scotty Flamingo.
Scotty Flamingo and Evad Sullivan.
No, El Dandy.
See, now that'd be awesome.
Yeah, now I'm going to do a historical TEW where I book Scotty Flamingo and El Dandy main event Starrcade.
But, I mean, definitely given Flamingo's character, the fact that it was a clean win. I mean, afterwards they tried to sell it as him kind of being a dick about it and kind of getting lucky, but it was, very clean.
Well, and I did like the story they were telling, and especially, heading into the second half of the match where it was Pilman was the one taking these risks, and Ventura was even like, hey, he doesn't really need to do that. That was stupid to do a dive onto the ramp that they had running up to the ring. It was stupid to be taking all this risks when you were in control.
Kind of wonder if it was...
What?
Well, I mean, I know that eventually, he turned heel and kind of joined Austin. I wonder if, particularly with Watts instituting those new rules, if there was a little bit of friction with Pilman, who kind of saw the top rope and everything as like things that helped him get more over.
There had to be, because that was sort of his mark. They even, Ventura even said, hey, in the high flying stuff, Pilman's got the edge here. That's his territory. And he still came off the second rope, but it was a significant cut to what made Pilman so great.
But yeah, definitely something to kind of think about.
Fuck Bill Watts.
Are
you going to defend Watts?
Watts is, I don't know. I mean, the Mid-South stuff I've seen has been pretty great. Watts, I don't know. Watts did some things incredibly well and was, 15 years behind the times in others and was way the fuck off the mark in others. It's just, I don't know. I can't go as far as to say fuck Watts, but
but yeah. How do you feel about that? Let's think about it. How do you like the ramp thing where it connects to the ring?
I always kind of liked it. Particularly with WCW big shows. I mean, that was always something that was kind of their trademark, and whenever it went away, it didn't feel like WCW as much anymore.
I kind of like it, especially in the ECW, because I felt like I like it as a whole because I think this card did the best to exemplify like using it. Like it gets used in the Pilman Flamingo match to tell a story. It gets used in the upcoming Sting Cactus Jack match. But I think the all-time greatest moment of that ramp was Taz and Bam Bam in the ECW going through the damn thing.
Yeah, I dig it. I do. All right, so from there we get the first part of the Miss WCW contest. And I know that you've got some stuff to say about Ventura, kind of.
Yeah, a nice reminder that we were watching early 90s Southern wrestling. As Ventura, not even subtly, just straight out sits there and calls out Johnny B. Bad as being gay.
And
does he even like girls? Why is he judging this?
And I'm not going to defend him at all, but I will say that Bad's character at this point was really, really over the top gay. Like it was,
But it was so entertaining, I will say. I loved every minute of
it absolutely does not defend Ventura stuff, which I actually kind of found beyond just going into a character, and yeah, it's dated, but I mean it definitely was kind of uncomfortable. But just kind of in the thing.
Well,
the character was...
Especially since he brought it up again and again, and then did it to his face in the third segment. And then had to prove how much a man he was later. But we'll talk about that later. Yeah, but I will say, I was quite enjoying, like, Johnny B. Bad, sort of Little Richard out there. It was, I enjoyed it way more than I should have.
I don't even think
his face hooks.
I don't even think saying Little Richard's enough. It was like if they made, how now they make like porn parody films. If they made like a gay porn Little Richard biopic film, this would be the guy playing him. I mean, like the sheriff outfit.
I forgot that was in the third one. Yeah, it was just so over the top. Like the sheriff outfit got a bit ridiculous, but before that, it wasn't. The third segment really ramped it up, but his expressions is just over the top enthusiasm. It's just, oh my god, his rhyming and everything. I just loved it. I just loved it so much. Ugh, I never thought I'd say that about anything Mark Mero was involved with.
But then it's your favorite after this.
Oh, yeah.
We know that you love yourself some Ron Simmons.
Yeah. I love Ron Simmons, the guy, the character, but, oh, man. I don't like to see Ron Simmons wrestle.
And this match I thought was inoffensive enough.
Yes.
Taylor was trying hard.
It was definitely the least bad Ron Simmons match we've seen.
Well, like singles maybe, but...
Singles, yeah. Well, of course. Yeah, and poor Terry Taylor getting stuck with another shitty gimmick.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about. He's the tailor-made man. It's not at all a Ted DiBiase knockoff, man. You shut your mouth.
Oh my God, this shirt with the pull-away shirt. It wasn't even a freaking shirt. It was like a shiny ascot. It was pull-away. Because, oh my God, with the shiny vest and oh my God, it was just ridiculous. Not as ridiculous as being a Red Rooster, but yeah, this is one of Terry Taylor's last matches, wasn't it? He wasn't much long for the wrestling world after this in terms of in-ring competitive.
I know that he at least went to WWE, well, at the time WWF in '93, and was terrific Terry Taylor for a few months.
Yes, you're right. And then I think there was like some occasional indie bookings. I didn't know he was down at NXT training guys right now.
I know that he kind of stuck around pretty much since then, since he retired in one company or another, and he's kind of bounced back and forth.
Yeah, he was with TNA for a while. I didn't realize he had come back to WWE. I had heard about it, but I didn't realize he was down there as like a trainer.
Well, yes, he was. So.
Yep. Because he's terrific and tailor-made.
And the Red Rooster.
And the caw-caw. You know what would have made that gimmick work nowadays? Because you could have Will Arnett doing the caw-caw. That would be an acceptable Red Rooster gimmick.
Do they need to bring the Red Rooster gimmick out of retirement?
Only if it's Will Arnett. Or someone who could do a damn good Will Arnett impression.
I don't know. I just say throw it on Mojo Rawley. He can be the new Red Rooster.
No, stop that. Because I need to stay hyped.
And then like one of the other NXT guys can become the new Glacier.
God, yes, we do need Glacier. Is Glacier alive?
Yes.
Then what do we need a new Glacier for? Just bring back original Glacier.
Yeah, but he sold all his gear to Kaz Hayashi.
What? I'm sure WWE can make some new gear.
Or maybe...
It better be a damn good replica or something even more absurd.
Maybe just get Kaz Hayashi to come back and he can be Glacier. In fact, I think he sold his music to Kaz Hayashi too.
Did he really?
Yes.
Oh my God, that's awesome. But yeah, this match was very long and it wasn't very good. And then we get a Ron Simmons promo afterwards.
The Ron Simmons promo was like such a...
It was I felt like it was Ron Simmons trying to do Dusty Rhodes in 45 seconds while he's huffing and puffing and blown up after the match. This is not awesome Ron Simmons as a character. He's going around spouting off, damn, and, being the APA. This is Ron Simmons trying to cut a straight babyface promo about
being the
race
best.
Relations, being the best, and uniting everyone together, no matter the color of your skin. And there was no breaks. I think he went through the entire promo with one breath. It was something.
Yeah, and to me, I mean, that was the part. It was like you could be the best just like Ron Simmons. And it's like, I know that they played up his football stuff, but it's like, dude, you're a mid-carder.
When was it that he won the title?
Like 3 months after this.
Oh, okay. Just making sure. My early 90s WCW timeline screwed up.
But even that was like, it wasn't like he was someone that was really primed to be the next guy. It was intentionally, I think, very random.
Yeah, was it like a house show?
Yeah, it was.
Go figure.
Where the advertised main event was Sting versus Vader. Jake the Snake shows up, takes Sting out, and so they have a drawing in the middle of the ring with everybody's name in it to see who gets the shot. And he wins it and wins the title.
Oh, WCW, way to have a historical moment for you on a house show.
I don't know. I like whenever things actually happen on a house show. It's not something you want to overuse.
There's a difference between something happening. There's a difference between something happening, like the Wolves taking the TNA titles at a house show. That's something. Having something as historic as your first black champion. Was it the first black world champion, period? Because WWF hadn't had one. Did someone in Mid-South, maybe, that I'm missing?
Mid-South didn't, but I mean, there are cases to be made for like Bobo Brazil being WWA champion. It just kind of depends on if you... Correct answer is not really, but it's been so established in wrestling war that, it is what it is.
Yeah, I guess I would say Brazil. Okay,
it's a Liberty Valance
probably the
thing,
case I would go with. Yeah. Yeah, but you have something like that, you don't put that on a house show. Hell, you book that? Or are they afraid that, like, if they advertise that that WCW fans wouldn't show up for it?
No, I mean, I think that WCW fans would kind of buy it because they'd had a 2 out of 3 falls match with him and Luger at the previous Halloween Havoc. So, I mean, at that point, they were they'd pushed him and then they'd backed off it and everything, but I mean, it's not like it'd be more like, I don't know, who'd be someone kind of higher on the totem pole than Kofi Kingston, but not somebody that you really expect to be champion? Well, maybe Kofi is the closest.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to think. I can't really think of anyone that's higher on the totem pole than Kofi that I couldn't see as being
Okay,
champion.
it'd be like...
I think he's the cutoff
It
point.
would be like, maybe not necessarily now, but if like they spent a few months kind of building Ryback up to like mid-card, maybe a little higher than mid-card level, and then had him win the title. It was that kind of thing.
Yeah. So then why do it? I'm trying to make logic out of what WCW did. I shouldn't delve into the reasoning or the what and the why and
No, just enjoy it. Just savor it.
There is a lot to savor on this show. Unfortunately, we've got Marcus Bagwell.
But you have Marcus Bagwell in leopard print.
This is true, but he's not buff or the stuff.
But at this point in this, and I know that it makes it even worse because, it's basically he was a stripper before he got into wrestling, but it looks like he just, he's wearing tights with like leopard print mixed in and everything. It looks like he just got off a shift at the strip club, put on some white wrestling boots and went out there for a match.
It feels like he went into Rick Rude's bag and stole something without being as awesome as Rick Rude. Oh my God, he was like a low-rent Rick Rude at this point.
Only a bland babyface?
Yes, only a bland babyface.
And it's a weird, like, considering they come in under a lot of fanfare, which I guess it's one of those cases where Watt's gonna Watt, but, this guy that you're hoping will be a big part of your company in the future gets puts over somebody at this point who's got to be pushing like, how old is Valentine in '92?
Oh God.
41.
Is that old? I was gonna say 45, but okay.
Well, the thing about
41.
Greg Valentine is he's looked like he's 45 from like 1985 until now.
Yeah, he has not aged. He's like Greg Oden. He was old to start with, and it doesn't look like he's ever gonna look older than he does. Jeez, he's only 62. Wow. Huh. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, and there's not a lot of like defense behind this move other than just, well, he's a veteran, so you know.
Yeah, and this match was not good.
No.
It was better than I thought it was gonna be, so I will give it that. When I sit there and hear 92 Greg Valentine's going to be wrestling Bagwell, it was better than I was thinking, but I thought it was going to be complete and utter trash. It was just
There.
bad. It was bad, just not trash.
But I mean, yeah, Valentine picks up the clean win, and that's the weird thing. I mean, yeah, there are kind of some schmozzy finishes coming up with the thing, but there are no like unclean finishes. There's no interference. There's no anything this entire card. Major change from
Yeah.
last week's show.
Yes, it was. Oh my God, can we put Bill Watts in charge of TNA?
You get Bill Watts and Vince Russo to work together. And then
Yes.
you film it for their Impact 365 stuff.
Yes, exactly.
That'd be great. Just put like people who would not get along at all. And just let them just film it.
Yes. Yep. Shit, what was next? Did we get the second of our swimsuit competition, or is that...
Yeah, that's next.
I should probably pull up something that tells me what the order is. Yeah, so was I the only one confused that they were selling the third part as bikini, and the first part as swimsuit, or the second part as swimsuit, but they still had Hyatt come out in a bikini for the second part?
Yeah, there was very little sense to this.
Yeah, there wasn't. And I will say, in the choice between the two, I'm going Medusa every time. I do love that they kept in like the 900 stuff though. Side note about the network, I love that one when they're showing old Raws, they show the merchandising stuff. And I was really disappointed I couldn't get a Mr. Perfect poster they had that they were advertising on the show. Or like a 94 Raw or something. And I did love that we get JR showing the 900 number. And they even show it with a big thing over it that says, this number's no longer in use.
I wonder who owns that 1-900-909-9900 number.
Missy Hyatt?
She's just lonely. She doesn't even charge anymore. She'll just pick it up if you call.
Yeah. Yep. But yeah.
From there, we get a Falls Count Anywhere on the Gulf Coast match.
Oh, good thing they didn't get to, like, the Midwest.
As it's Sting against Cactus Jack. Now, what makes this match odd? Particularly about its placement.
It's a good Sting match?
Particularly about its placement.
It's not the main event for their World Heavyweight Championship? Oh, it's not on the line, but it's still their championship, not in the main event?
Yeah, it's a mid-card match with their world champion. And, this entire show in some ways is like a build for their next pay-per-view. And the challenger's not even on it.
Who was the challenger at the next pay-per-view?
Vader.
I kind of get having the world champion not in the main event when the title's not on the line.
But given the result of this, and particularly, perhaps not get into it, particularly given how the main event ends, wouldn't this have been a much more logical match had you put the title on the line and made it the main event?
Yeah, but in Bill Watts' world, you can't have the title on the line with all the rules being wiped away and agreed to be not contested under the rules.
It's just, I don't know. WCW.
Yep. But I will say, Sting's best performance ever in a match. I don't think it's his greatest match, but I think from his side of things, it's his best match.
Don't get me wrong, I really like this match. I love this match. I'd probably say Muda to Bash 89, which was our previously established bearer. But, I wouldn't necessarily disagree.
Yeah. Especially since in this match he doesn't have to sell as much as he normally does.
No, this match...
Which he doesn't. He's a shitty seller, and he no-sells all the fucking time, and it bugs me, and he even does it a bit in this match. When he does, but there's just not as much of it. And it is kind of like, let him go out, and I thought it played to his strengths the best.
Yeah, and one of those strengths is letting Mick Foley take insane bumps.
Yes. And then Sting can fly around a bit.
Which is, Foley taking great bumps is always enjoyable.
Yeah. Oh, God, that suplex in the crowd. Oh, man. Fuck, that hurt me watching it.
And, some of the stuff on the ramp was a little convoluted.
What? No
like
way.
The backdrop where he started to Irish whip him, and they kind of turned it again, they kind of turned it again, and...
Yeah.
Because that's a move you do on a outside of a ring in a fight. It's a back body drop.
Yes. That seems like the perfect move for outside of a ring.
They'd never expect it. Getting into a real bar fight with somebody. Motherfucker, did you just back body drop me?
Yeah, fun brawl. It doesn't... I think what helped this, from my perspective of being a Sting's best performance, it was only 11 and a half minutes. So Sting could get through it. Because I feel like the longer a Sting match goes, the worse off it's going to be. Because I think he does have a very limited set of what he does. And I think why I continue to think of this as at least his best performance is it was not a regular in-ring match. Because I wrote an article where I sat there and watched a bunch of what you could consider Sting's greatest matches back to back to back. Holy shit, were they nearly identical. His spot, not even just his spots, the way every little thing was identical. It wasn't like here's his signature moves. The entire matches were damn near the same. Oh, God. But I enjoyed this one. Props, Sting.
Well, and I think the one thing with the shorter time is it allowed it that there was no real, rest in the match. It was just a sprint.
Yes.
It's a Sting flying and Foley bumping, and, there's no real story to it. It's just a brawl.
It was a punk rock song.
But, it works for 11 and a half minutes.
Yes, it does. And then we get to the real good stuff.
All right, yeah.
This was real good, but we get to the great, great stuff.
Follows it with a 30-minute Iron Man challenge. Ricky Steamboat versus Rick Rude.
And we know it's a real 30 minutes. They sit there and have a clock the whole time. It's not wrestling time.
Unlike the wrestling time that we get a little bit later. Okay. Where 22 minutes is 30 minutes.
I loved this match. Steamboat and Roode, God, they always had great chemistry. They always put on great matches, and everything about this was awesome. The story they were telling was fantastic, and it had one of my favorite things in an Iron Man match. The intentional disqualification.
Although it was a pretty weak one.
Oh, God, fucking Bill Watts.
You know.
I don't know. It made sense like, oh, he wants to get the extra force from going off the top rope.
You know, it's not quite Lesnar using a chair. It's just he jumps off the top rope.
No, it's not. He does, yes. He just jumps off the top rope. But still, I love that. That's my favorite thing in an Iron Man match is when there's an intentional DQ.
But I mean, yeah, I love the story about how Roode got up ahead early, was even like throwing a disqualification to the wind because he didn't really care because he was up so much. And then Steamboat like kind of snuck up on him a couple of times, and then once he took the lead, like Roode kind of didn't know how to respond.
Mad dashed it. Well, I love that Roode was selling the ribs too early on. It was Roode is up, but he is hurt. And I loved it. He got up from one of the pinfalls and wanted to do the dance, but he couldn't. He couldn't because of his ribs, and he sits there and pains it. And I loved. This is the one time I was really enjoying Ventura on commentary for this card was like when he's sitting there and going, "Look at Roode. He's a heroic. Look at him trying to fight through the pain, trying to provide the full show for all these people out here, for all the ladies. It pains him to do his hip swivel, but he's gonna do it anyway."
And I'm gonna jump back a little bit here because you kind of brought up something that annoyed me. Was him just like completely kind of no selling the Pilman's football background?
Oh God, I can't believe I got to bring that up. Oh yeah, where JR has to sit there and defend Miami University. Like, I feel like that's Ventura makes some ridiculous comment, and then Ventura is like, and then JR is like telling the truth, like, "Oh, Miami University's a fine 4-year college, it's a MAC school." I felt like, was that not a recurring thing throughout the night where Ventura would say something, and it felt like JR was doing damage control?
Maybe a little bit. I mean, that was probably like the worst one, just because.
Well, and some of it wasn't even like an attention, like it was like not egregious. It was a storyline that made sense for Ventura to say that, but Ross would still be like, "Well, actually, blah 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 blah."
And as I said, I mean that, and maybe it was the fact that I'd read Meltzer's Pilman obituary a few weeks ago, where he kind of brought that up in particular whenever like they were doing commentary and JR would bring up Pilman's football prowess and Ventura couldn't believe it because he was a little guy. I don't know. Maybe I'm still harboring a little bit of.
Well, and then they completely slobbed all over Simmons' football background.
Well, yeah, because he's a big guy with big muscles.
But he's got no freaks and no peaks.
He does not.
But yeah, I loved back to the match. I loved Steamboat hitting the Rude Awakening. I thought it was a nice touch.
Well, yeah, because what can't Steamboat do?
Be a heel? He's too likable. He's like Sami Zayn. Like, you can't hate the guy.
Do you think, though, that there was any chance that he probably could have pulled it off?
Who?
Yeah.
Steamboat? I don't know. Because when I think of Steamboat, do you immediately think of character work?
I don't know. I mean, he wasn't a bad promo.
Yeah, he wasn't. I'm not saying he was a bad promo, but I mean, I don't know. Could he have pulled it off, or is he like Rey Mysterio? Like, you really don't want that to ever happen. Because he is just so eminently likable. And maybe, I think it was a case where, for all intents and purposes, it seems like his on-screen character and sort of his promos and everything he was doing out there was kind of him. It was just, I'm going to be me. Do you think I'm not sure. Do you think he could play a character?
With that, I don't, with him, I don't know if it was that he couldn't or if he just never really got the chance to. Kind of like Roode being a babyface. Roode never really got to be the hero. And I think he would have been very good at it. And maybe in the 80s or 90s, I don't necessarily think that Steamboat, I don't know if he could have been a great heel. I think you put him in the Attitude Era, or you put him in, more of a modern context, and the same character could be a very good heel, where he talks about how, where he could kind of put over how wholesome he is and how...
You talk about like a Bo Dallas type deal?
I was thinking more like an early Kurt Angle.
Okay.
Where it's like, I love my family, I do everything for my family, and, your heroes, they go out and they drink and they do drugs and they have promiscuous women, and, I'm better than that, and because they're your heroes, I'm better than you too.
Oh, I do gotta say before the match, I kind of found the irony hilarious, and it was like Ventura was, trash and be bad for possibly being gay, and then was trashing on the family values. I love that. That's the other time I was thinking of where JR has to be like the nice guy, like, what, do you hate family values now? Why are you hating on the guy for bringing out his family and all that?
Oh yeah, because he's a nerd.
Yeah, that was just like, oh, JR. But apparently Richie's still employed. Like, how they talked about there had been those reports of his release a couple months ago? Apparently not true.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe with his injury being suffered in WWE ring, maybe they'll find something for him to do going forward.
Yeah, maybe. Oh, here's hoping that he can actually recover and come back to wrestling.
Yeah. I just, given everything that's been said, I don't know.
I don't know. Ezekiel Jackson still has a freaking job there, so...
I don't think really anybody gets fired in WWE anymore. What's the JTG clock now, like 7 years?
The JTG clock has disappeared.
No!
It no longer exists. Someone, off the top rope listener, go make a new JTG website.
No, that can't be true. You're lying.
It is, unfortunately. JTG's employment has outlived the JTG employment clock.
Those bastards. Yoshitatsu still has a job.
Yoshitatsu's awesome.
Oh, but when he hasn't been on TV in like 3 years.
That's true. Do they use these guys at house shows, or what's the deal?
I don't think so. JTG occasionally gets on like Superstars, but I know that Yoshitatsu's been in NXT, and he was on NXT like 2 years ago. But I think since then he goes to Orlando every morning and doesn't do anything else.
They don't use him when they do the split roster for house shows?
I don't think so.
Huh. Yeah, it sounds like a gig as a wrestler. If you can make it to the main roster at some point, you're kind of set. As long as you can make it through the developmental process.
Here, let me pull him up on ProFightDB when Yoshi was
last match. In an apartment against Sheamus.
Oh, he wrestled in 2013.
Did he?
In fact, he wrestled in October of 2013 on TV.
What?
Against Antonio Cesaro.
On Super
On NXT. His last time before that was the...
Oh, did he? I do not remember that. In October of 2013?
Yeah, and in May of 2013 at a different TV taping.
Shit, I'm going to have to go back. I do not remember him wrestling Tatsu. on NXT?
The last time he was on a WWE show was on Main Event in April in a Battle Royal.
Okay, I remember
It also
that.
included Alex Riley, three-man band, the Usos, and the Great Khali.
Oh, how far the Usos have
Won
come.
by Justin Gabriel.
Also, yes, I remember that one. God damn it. You know what? There's been a severe lack of 3MB on my TV lately.
I guess you're just
Can we
not
get
watching
tape?
enough Superstars or Main Event.
Okay, that's not on my TV. Well, Main Event, I guess, technically is. But I watch it, only matches that appeal to me on the YouTubes. Is it too much to ask for Lesnar versus 3MB again? Or Undertaker 3MB? Can I get Undertaker 3MB?
You'll get Khali 3MB and you'll like it.
I am okay with that. I get 3MB on my screen. So yeah, Ricky Steamboat wins
Oh yeah,
the
I
title.
kind of forgotten where we were in all of our other discussions.
Yeah, Ricky
He
Steamboat
didn't win the
wins
title.
the
It
title.
was a non-title match.
It was a
It was a
non-title match.
non-title match.
I thought it was a title match the whole damn
Nope.
time. What the fuck wasn't the title on the line in a 30-minute
God
Iron
only
Man match?
knows.
Fucking Bill Watts.
Yes, that's the only real answer here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I gotta say, next two matches coming up, severely disappointing.
I'd say more one than the other.
Well, yeah, the main event, severely disappointing.
I'm not that negative on it, but
I'm not negative on the main event, and it's probably on me.
it's a terrible finish.
Too high of expectations for the match.
I liked it a lot in spite of its terrible finish. Had it been 5 minutes shorter and had a finish, I probably would have loved it.
I don't know if I would have gone that far, even with that. And that just might be did not meet my expectations, and which I'm going to admit was super high for it. Before that, let's get to... Oh, you know what? The next one's still damn disappointing.
Yes, but before that, we get the final part, the bikini contest.
God. But there was already a bikini on one of them. But, sorry.
Yes, but this
Yeah.
was, quote unquote, the itsy bitsy teeny weeny bikini contest.
Bikini. I love that. I love that he had to pause to prevent himself from saying polka dot each time. Yeah, where Ventura interrupts the proceedings because as he gets on the mic and says straight to Johnny B. Bad, "Do you even like girls?" And then his bandana and scarf gets stolen and turned into a bikini by Hyatt, and he's got his little, what do you call it, rat tail, Mongolian hair style.
Yeah.
That I forgot he rocked at one point.
And then you've got Bad rubbing it, saying it's as smooth as a baby's bottom. And his defense for that was, yeah, because I produce a lot of testosterone.
Yes. Oh my god. Oh my
I didn't know that
Like, what?
testosterone meant that your head was smooth.
Yeah.
I guess the more you know, huh?
Yeah. And knowing's half the battle. But yeah, and then things get even weirder. Like, Medusa drags Johnny B. We forgot to mention, they each have their own little, tent thing
Yes.
set up as, a changing room, I guess. I don't know. So Medusa drags Johnny B. Bad into her tent. 10 seconds later, after you hear a struggle, Johnny B. Bad walks out with Medusa's bikini bottom, which I don't know how he got storyline-wise, even because she was wearing the stirrups the whole time. But ignoring that logical inconsistency in this entire thing, Ventura looks shocked and then decides to proceed to make his way into the tent and then pops his head back out, talks some, and then goes in and has sex, assaults Medusa. I don't know what we're supposed to get from that.
It must have been pretty quick sex,
Like,
because wasn't he back at the commentary the next match?
yes. So I don't even. Like, was Medusa gonna assault Johnny B. Bad? What was going on? I don't know. It's just, it was too ridiculous to even
A little bit.
but like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it didn't make a lot of sense.
No, it made zero sense that it's hard to like be offended or well, I'm not even offended, but just to criticize it on some sort of absurdly like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Because it was just so out of control crazy. Ugh.
Yes, but that took us to Dustin Rhodes, Barry Windham, and Nikita Koloff against the Dangerous Alliance, who are in this match, Arn Anderson, Beautiful Bobby, and Stunning Steve, who was using a WCW six-man title.
And Medusa was out for this match.
To stand in for his TV title.
Yes.
Which I don't know if it was just like, maybe he didn't take the belt with him because he, it wasn't a title match, and then Watts was like, well, you're a champion, you need the title, here, take this one. But if you look at it, as Austin's going out, he knows that, like, he's at least aware enough that it's like, people are going to know this isn't the title.
Yeah, he tries to hide it.
Yeah, so he, like, has it against his forearm the entire match, the plate of the belt, well, not the match, but, like, the pre-match stuff, and doesn't lift it or anything.
Yeah, and more evidence to Jesse Ventura apparently being a quickie. Medusa was out for this match. But yeah, this was a disappointing match.
Yeah, definitely something where it's like, you would kind of hope for it to be better.
Oh yeah, it's a trios match, which immediately makes it awesome. And then it becomes not awesome.
Even with Nikita in there, I mean, these six have had really good matches among each other, going back, and it just gets watched.
Yes, it does. It was miserable and boring and way too long.
As Ole Anderson is the guest referee.
Oh, Ole.
But it doesn't stop him from disqualifying his family.
Yes.
Due to the off-the-top rope rule.
Yes.
Which, yeah, I mean, this is one of those things where it's like, damn you, Bill Watts.
Yeah. And of all the ways to get disqualified to end the match, like, oh no, Arn Anderson came off the top rope, which was a shock because I forgot that Arn Anderson does that sometimes, but yeah. If he should have dragged someone up there and hit a spine buster off the top rope. Side note, has there ever been a spine buster off the top rope?
I don't think so.
Why have we not gotten to a point where like someone's fighting over a superplex and their counter is to fucking spine buster the guy?
Because there are very few guys that are strong enough to kind of hold somebody up and be able to turn. You need like Cesaro to do it.
Well, do you necessarily need the turn? No, I'm thinking the guy who's about to get superplexed. Maybe he deadlifts the dudes up and spine buster. Do you need the turn? Does the turn negate it being a spine buster?
I think, kinda.
What would it be then? It's still a spine buster, isn't it?
I guess technically, but
I don't know. We'll have to talk to the right Reverend Kane about this. Okay, but yeah, have a Cesaro or a John Cena. Yes, he goes up there instead of doing a superplex, a super spine buster.
But damn it, I mean,
How awesome would that be?
yeah, it'd be pretty good, but you need the turn. Damn it.
Okay, then we'll have the turn.
I'm getting really, the turn is very important.
Yeah. Should we move on?
Yeah.
I feel like there's not really
No,
much
Dustin
to this match.
Takes a really long, beat down segment, and then like they don't really do anything with it.
Yep.
So, yeah, that takes us to the main event, which is the Steiner brothers against Gordy and Williams. And
Disappointing.
I mean,
it was still a good match, don't get me wrong. But when I hear 1992, Steiner Brothers versus Dr. Death Steve Williams and Gordy, I'm expecting fantastic.
Well, I mean, I think that they had some that were better. But it's just, I think...
Not to mention the screwy finish.
Yeah, the finish really hurt it to me. Because there was no finish. It's a 23-minute time limit draw. And I don't think, they'd wrestled once, maybe twice. I don't really think that putting them in there for that long was a good idea.
Didn't even actually go 30 minutes.
Well, I mean, even 23 minutes I think was too long.
I know, but it's just funny when the time discrepancy is that much. Like, you only wrestled a little over 2/3 of what you said you were going to.
But, yeah, it's good. But, yeah, it's definitely a little disappointing.
Mm-hmm. And, I don't know what it is to point to that I mean, because it was still good, it's hard to say, well, this is what they needed to do, like, this is where it went wrong, but I don't know if it just didn't click, or if it was just one of those nights, like.
I think a little bit both.
Can we just blame Bill Watts?
Sure.
Okay. It was Bill Watts' fault. Bill Watts ruins everything.
But, yeah, I mean, the non-finish was such a terrible idea.
Yes. Especially when he hit the fucking Frankensteiner. Let him finish it. Let the Frankensteiner finish. Because they were even building it up like, he's looking for the Frankensteiner. You know what this was missing, I feel like? Now that I think about it, when I think of these guys, I want to see a shit ton of brutal slams after brutal slams. Maybe that's what I was missing, not enough brutal slams. When I think of Steiner Brothers and Dr. Death and Gordy at this point, I think of a lot of brutal fucking slams.
You're saying you need some suplexes?
Yes. And some freaks and peaks.
Some backdrop drivers? Because they might be like the only guys crazy enough on the roster to take that bump.
Yes. This just needed to be an insane match, and it was not. It was tame. That was its fucking problem. It was tame.
No, and I think their other matches are better just because they're shorter, they're better structured, and they've got finishes.
Yeah.
They've got a really good match on Worldwide that goes about 11 minutes. They've got a really good match at the next Clash, which was actually taped before this, in typical WCW fashion.
Yep.
But yeah, overall thoughts on the show?
I loved it. I give it a thumbs up. Go watch the show. I mean, there's enough. Even the stuff where we said was like disappointing with the last two matches, there's still good matches. I mean, okay, one of them was okay, and one of them was still good. And you have two fantastic matches, a great opening. There's not a ton of bad stuff to wade through. Go watch the show.
Yeah, and apparently the Turner version cuts out the Turner version is apparently really good. It cuts out the Simmons Taylor, Valentine Bagwell stuff, and the the bikini stuff, and just leaves everything else.
Well, that's a damn good card then.
It's one of those ones like our Wrestle War 92 where, damn, the Turner version might have been a little better.
Yeah. I think that's the one I had, the Turner version.
Yeah, that was the one that we both did.
Yeah. Yeah. Damn you, network. Now when the network, now thanks to the network, I'm going to have to sit through a shit ton of early 90s WCW shit. Because I don't get the nice cut version.
All right, so your MVP and LVP.
My MVP is going to be the ravishing one, Rick Rude.
All right.
My LVP, Jesse Ventura.
Okay. I'm going to give my MVP to somebody that I saw in person a few days ago, to Mrs. Foley's baby boy. What? That's not an indefensible pick on this show, is it?
It's not.
Right.
It's not. I just love the way you were selling it, building it up.
And my LVP is going to be... I know I'm generally more positive on him than you are, even though there's not a lot of, like, actual matches to defend it, but at least on this show, given the fact that there's not a lot bad, I gotta give it to Ron Simmons.
Okay.
All right, so what are we doing next week?
All right. I had a few ideas. It's like in Road to WrestleMania, let's do a whole classic WrestleMania. But I'm like, nah, I'll save that. Then I was thinking going all Japan, and I'm like, we'll save that too. Warn ahead of time so I could, because I haven't actually figured out if I can find some of the old Japan shows I want to watch. So we'll keep it to the network, but we're going ECW Heatwave 98.
Okay. All right, sounds like a plan.
Yep.
All right, you got anything coming up this week?
ROH TV review.
I don't even remember this week's episode, like at all.
The one that just happened?
The one that you'll be reviewing.
I don't know. I haven't watched it.
For better or worse, I don't remember a thing on it. Makes me wonder. It's like, did I like watch 15 minutes of it and then?
Did you actually watch it?
I know I started
it. You would
it.
have gone out to Foley's on.
I think I watched it that night, although I might have given up on it and then accidentally deleted it, not having watched it all.
I'm gonna try and put the finishing touches on some women that WWE needs to sign. And I'm starting on it, and I don't know if I'll have a finish in the week. Kind of a look at, sparked by a discussion on the Road Warriors where I was down on them on their ability to work. Apparently that's a controversial statement. But it sort of became, oh, well, yeah, they're not technical, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. It's like, yeah, a brawling style does not mean all of a sudden, saying that someone's a bad worker has nothing to do with they're a brawler or not. There are plenty of great workers that work a brawling style. So then I'm going to write something on my brawling style. I don't know. I'm just fucking around with it right now. Something about brawlers and great brawlers.
What about all your other stuff, man? Where's all that stuff that, you're always selling, huh?
What stuff?
Like your piece about where all the wrestlers come from and your piece on psychology and your
Oh, I never agreed to any piece on psychology.
wasn't that like your big
Have
piece
I
that
done
you were
that?
going to talk to people on and
No. That's my wrestling and philosophy of art, which I'm still working on because I actually have like 10 pages written up, but I need to figure out how to break it up. That's something I'm saving. I'm still getting reviews on from a couple of my buddies that are art philosophy
of course
PhDs.
obviously the irony in me pointing out for you on things that you've talked about writing and never
No, that's actually something I'm still sitting there working
No,
on.
I'm not throwing stones from this glass house at all. I don't know what you're talking about.
Uh, oh my God, I still do have my graph for I was doing that. I forgot I had started that pipeline thing. I'm pretty sure I still have my little map I made. I made like a little color-coded
In
map.
fact, I'm pretty sure that holy shit, I think that's what you were talking about working on that very first episode.
I think that was something super early on where I was like, yeah, I don't know what sparked the idea. And then like there was a shit ton of upheaval and like who was working they did the post-mania cuts and shit. I'm like, oh fuck it. Ugh.
All right. So, what are your predictions for year 2 of Off the Top Rope, a pro wrestling podcast?
Um, your sex tape will leak.
Shit, she
We
told me
will
she deleted
do
that though.
we will do an American Males photo shoot.
Screw that. I'm doing fabulous ones if we're doing any tag team.
I was gonna say that for year 3. Gotta leave them wanting more. 3 count will somehow be on the show. I will make it my mission and goal in life to get PN News to host an episode. Yeah. And in one more year, I will still be talking about my projects that I slowly take on bit by bit.
My prediction for the next year is I will actually write something, but just one thing.
Just one thing. Yeah, Mr. Wrestlers as Rappers. Or Rappers as
I
Wrestlers.
was busy I meant to work on it this last weekend, but then I got busy. I went on a wrestling show and I was running errands and I kind of went on a date that went horribly and
Stop having a life, man.
I know the wrestling stuff is more important. Like even today, I mean, I ended up, I thought I was going to have all day to watch the show and then do whatever, and I didn't have any time at all. I barely got through the show. I finished it like an hour before we started.
Yeah, same here, because I had a bunch of papers to write.
So,
man, if you're a wrestling fan, don't go to grad school.
Actually, you know what? From what we said before, if you're a wrestling fan, probably don't get the network. Just because going forward,
if you have some type of life,
WWE is life, Rex. It's our mother.
Oh, yeah.
We sit in front of it and it nurtures us. With Flying Bryan.
Oh my God, that just reminds me of like an idea I kind of had for like a mini series, sparked, which actually got destroyed by the fact that luckily, sort of before I could write it, I was gonna do like a "Are you there, Vince? It's me, Rex." I'd write like a letter prayer to Vince about Sting and not getting him involved in Mania, like in a major role, and especially not with Sting. But then they just haven't bothered to sign him yet, so I can't do anything with it until they fucking sign him. Maybe when they finally announce the news that Sting is signed, I will write, "Are you there, Vince? It's me, Rex," for "Don't have Sting Undertaker at WrestleMania 31.
I'm sure that they could make it work, really, though.
God, it's not a match I would want to see.
I mean, basically from all, the way that the Undertaker does it now, and now more accounts, this year came out about it than they really had before. But if they're like working the match spot for spot days before in his gym, that,
But Sting can't even do that. The problem isn't that it's not like we can't. There's not an issue now where like I think old Sting you could do that because old Sting could still move and bend and do things. Old Sting can't. Oh wait, what was I just saying? Old guy Sting can't do that. You can sit there and go through all the spots, but just because he what spots can he do? It's gonna be
do
miserable.
a Scorpion Deathlock, kinda.
No, there's no kinda. No. Holy shit. The Rock has a better fucking deathlock than him. Ugh.
Oh. All right, should we wrap this bad boy up?
I kind of want to go off the rails a little bit more. But yeah, I guess. Is the network calling to you?
Oh, absolutely. But
Alrighty then.
all right, this has been episode number 51 of Off the Top Rope, a Pro Wrestling Podcast. For Rex, this is Mike. We want to thank everybody out there for a year of listening. And we'll try and give you at least another year more before we get sick of each other and end up in like a real life Hogan Savage situation, or we're cutting disc rap records on each
Oh
other.
my god, are we? Yes. Oh, holy shit. Prediction for year 2. We will cut a diss track. One of us will. In all seriousness, yep. Thanks, guys. A lot. We love y'all.
Be sure to tune in next week. We'll be talking, if we get away from WWE Network enough, we'll be talking the week that was in the world of wrestling, including NXT Arrival.
Yes.
And reviewing our event, which is ECW Hardcore Heaven 98, or Heatwave 98.
What?
Heatwave, sorry.
Yeah. God damn it, man. You're going to confuse
No, it
everyone.
is Heatwave 98.
Yes, it is.
Well, Hardcore Heaven just flows off the tongue better. I'm sorry.
That heat wave? No, I don't think it does.
All right, everybody.
This is diss tracks coming next week.
Yeah, mine's gonna be similar to the F Granddad, complete with a video with someone that kind of looks like you getting their ass beat.
Right. Do you think maybe we should put out like what was the name of Lamar? What was the thing Kendrick Lamar did? I can't remember the name of that track now.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you're.
Yeah, where he called
Control.
out everyone. Yeah, I feel like we need to do that.
With all the other
before we turn on to
wrestling
each other.
podcasts.
Yeah, with all the other wrestling podcasts, we need to Kendrick Lamar their ass.
Talk about JR's show and Austin's show
and Jericho. Cabana, we're coming for you, bitch.
All right, everybody. We will see you all next week.
Later, folks.